is happening, how can you say that the matter, the EM waves behaves as a particle or a wave nature? There are good examples. Okay, so coming to the interference, yeah, interference, diffraction, polarization. The three phenomenon is based on the electromagnetic as radiation acts as a wave. They assume to be as a wave. Okay, then coming to the photoelectric effect and Compton effect, they prove that the electromagnetic radiation acts as a particle. But coming to the de Broglie concepts, he says that, okay, by making use of particle and the wave nature, he has assumed to be a wave particle duality. So for that, he has given the de Broglie wavelength. That means the wave is associated with the particle, or the particle is associated with the wave, isn't it? So such type of is called matter waves. So you can see here in the slide, okay. So sometimes you have a interference which are based on the wave nature. But coming to the particle, Compton and electric field. So far we have discussed the Compton and photoelectric effect. So Lewis as seems to say that, okay. So Lewis or de Broglie, we have two scientists, Morrissey de Broglie and one is Louis de Broglie. Uh, Both are brothers, isn't it? But Louis de Broglie has important role in giving the wave particle duality, isn't it? So what he says regarding that one, okay. So here basically we speak about matter waves. Matter waves are nothing but the waves which are with a associated with a material particle, isn't it? Okay, you have to consider the particle as well as the wave nature both at simultaneously. So coming to the how can you give the de Broglie wavelength? Okay, now here according to theory of light, so according to Einstein's, we have a given equation that considering a photon as a particle, the total energy of the photon is given by E is equal to mc square, that you know, isn't it? Okay, where m is nothing but mass of the particle, where c is nothing but velocity of a light. Okay, now considering the energy of a photon, that is total energy, that is E is equal to h mu, we have another way, that is equation 2, isn't it? Okay, now where h is the Planck's constant and rho is nothing but frequency of radiation. So what you understand from equation 192 here is, so what you understand that from equation 192, just you equate both the equations, right? So what you get here, mc square is equal to h mu, isn't it? But you know the momentum is nothing but product of mass and velocity, that we can be right represented as m into c. So how can you write equation 3, that is h mu is equal to pc, right? Okay, why? Because P is equal to h mu by c. So finally what you get when you give the relation between wavelength and mu, it is nothing but lambda is equal to c by mu. Okay, so finally you can write momentum is equal to h by lambda. Now how can you find the wavelength of a photon? We are speaking about the photon, isn't it? The wavelength of the photon is nothing but h by p, where p is nothing but momentum. So this is most important equation, that is equation 4. So what the de Broglie says that equation 4 can be applied for both photons and material particles. So this is the most important sentence is that, okay, so here de Broglie wavelength can be applied for photon. Photon is nothing but just acts as a wave, isn't it? And material particles. Okay, now if you consider small m is the mass of the particle, okay, and v is the velocity of the particle. Why? Because he's saying that this can be applicable to particle also. Basically this is the wavelength is for wave nature, that is for photon. Okay, so you can apply for the particle. So how it seems to be, we can have the momentum is nothing but m into v. So the de Broglie wavelength for a particle is given as h by mv or simply h by p. Why? Because m is the mass of the particle, v is the velocity of the particle. This is for particle, this is for photon. Okay, simply just p is equal to mc. We can write here p is equal to mc. This is for photon and this is for particle. That is the difference. Okay, so this is most important formula, that is de Broglie wavelength, that is h by mv, that is for particle. For a photon is nothing but h by p. You know what is the h, isn't it? Now there are other terms you can convert these wavelength in terms of voltage, in terms of temperature, in terms of energy. First of all, please all of you note it down, isn't it? This don't neglect, right? So here, coming to the de Broglie wavelength in terms of energy, how can you write? We know that the kinetic energy E is equal to half mv square. Okay, okay, by multiplying m on the both sides, isn't it? You get em into half m square v square. Mv is nothing but, you can write here. Okay, so here m square v square is equal to 2 times E into m. So mv is nothing but under root 2 em. So you know mv is nothing but momentum of the particle. Previously you have seen this one, this one. Okay, p is equal to mv, isn't it? Okay, now how can you write? Lambda is equal to h by p. What is p? Mv. What is mv? Under root 2 em. Simply you substitute this value in equation here, that is h by under root 2 me. We can write de Broglie wavelength in terms of energy. Okay, so these are used to find the problems, isn't it? It's very important in exam point of view, so you can have ask the questions to solve the numerical problems. This is one. Then how can you write in terms of voltage? Okay, now if a charged particle, why? Because we are speaking about a particle. So particle possess mass, velocity, charge, isn't it? If there is any charge, there should be some potential difference, right? Now if a charged particle of charge E is accelerated through a potential difference of V, so what is the kinetic energy? Of m v square, isn't it? But also we have a E into V, that is charge of the particle into potential difference, that is given in equation 8, isn't it? This is the kinetic energy of the particle. Okay, and this is the energy possessed of a charged particle moving with a potential difference of V. How can you write? E is equal to E into V. So equate both the equations 7 and 8. So what you get? Half mv square is equal to EV. Okay, so let us continue the next by multiplying m on both sides, same process. So why? Because mv is nothing but p square it becomes, isn't it? P square is equal to 2mev. So what is the wavelength? Lambda is equal to h by p. Okay, so how can you write? mv is equal to under root 2 mev, where v is nothing but potential difference, not the voltage. Sorry, no, not the velocity. Okay, now substituting equation 9 in equation 5, you get de Broglie wavelength in terms of voltage. What is that? H by under root 2 mev. Okay, so this is the expression for de Broglie wavelength in terms of voltage. So first of all, we have an equation for photon, that is wavelength, lambda is equal to h by p, that is first. And the second one, for a particle, lambda is equal to h by mv, that is for a particle. Next, in terms of energy, lambda is equal to h by under root 2 me, capital E. And the next one, in terms of voltage, lambda is equal to h by under root 2 me into v. Okay, next let us see de Broglie wavelength in terms of temperature. So how it is related to the temperature? For that sake, we have to consider kinetic theory of gases. In that we have a Boltzmann constant, right? So let us see what is that one. So de Broglie wavelength in terms of temperature. So we are considering at equilibrium temperature, that is the particle is just like a neutron. So it is in thermal equilibrium of temperature capital T. So according to Maxwell's Boltzmann distribution law, basically Maxwell Boltzmann distribution law, that is related to velocity. So we have a direct equation for that one. So how can you find the kinetic energy of a neutron? That is equal to half mv square. That is, this is called RMS velocity. That is nothing but root mean square velocity of the particle. Which particle? Neutron we are considering. Okay, so this equation you get from kinetic theory of gases, directly from kinetic theory of gases concept. Okay, now we have an energy that is equal to 3 by 2 kbt. So where kb is nothing but Boltzmann constant. You have any idea of Boltzmann constant? What is the value?
Yes, sir. R by Avogadro number.
Huh?
R by Avogadro number. Universal gas constant by
I'm
Avogadro
asking the
number.
value of that one, Boltzmann constant.
1.38 into 10 power minus 13.
13, 31. Huh?
Minus 23, sir.
Minus 23. Anybody else? Yeah, 1.3 into 10 to the power of minus 23, right? Not 13. Okay. Okay, so you have an idea about the Boltzmann constant. So from equation, when you equate both the equations, you get the, again you're taking in terms of momentum, that is mass into velocity, that is under root 3m Boltzmann constant into temperature. So finally what you got, lambda is equal to h by under root 3m kbt. Okay, so you got the equation 3. So this is the de Broglie wavelength in terms of temperature. See here, all these are very important what we are studying. Why? Because keep it in mind, starting from here. Okay, so this is the one equation very is important. This one, or this one, equation 4, equation 5, right? Equation 6, right? Then equation 10, then equation 13. Okay, so you keep it in mind, right? Now let us have the experimental verification of this one, that de Broglie says that. Okay, so what he says, de Broglie says that, so electromagnetic radiation acts as a dual nature, that is wave particle nature. So to prove, he has proved mathematically, but you have to prove experimentally, isn't it? The results which you got from the experimental should be comparable with the theoretical value. So for that sake, Davison and Germer experiment. Okay, so Davison and Germer has given the experimental verification of de Broglie hypothesis. Okay, so de Broglie hypothesis. So what he says, he can say that the particle, this is the particle, is associated with the wave. So he has given the momentum of that one is given by h by lambda. This is nothing but a matter wave which possesses a lambda and momentum p. So this was given by D. Louis de Broglie. Okay, for that he got Nobel Prize in 1927, isn't it? Okay, so he is the initiated for the dual nature of the electromagnetic radiation. Okay, now you can see the other person, Walter Morsi Esser. Okay, so what is the contribution to his Davison German experiment is that, so he says that when a high frequency of light is incident on a crystalline solids, okay, you get the electrons, you get scattered, isn't it? You get the scatter of electrons, isn't it? He is the first person initiated for that one. So later, Davison and German experimental, by making use of his concept, they have designed the experimental, that is to prove the de Broglie hypothesis. So why he has done is that basically SR is nothing but is calculated the binding energies of photons and neutrons in heavy. Is the first person to calculate the binding energies of protons and neutrons of a radioactive nuclei. Okay, isn't it? So he has developed that is Davison German experiment to give the clue to how to do the experiment for that one. Okay, now let us proceed what Davison German experiment has formulated and how they have proved the de Broglie hypothesis. It's very interesting here. Okay, so you can see the slide here. So on the left side, you can see the Davison. He's the Davison and German, both are brothers, isn't it? So you can see the electron gun, which produce a beam of electrons. This is the evacuated chamber. You can have that one. I'll show you what is electron gun. And other side, you can see the G.P. Thomson. So he also one of the experimentally proved based on de Broglie hypothesis, but in thin films. Okay, his experiment is based on thin films, right? Okay. Now let us see what this experiment is based on: crystalline solids. Okay, this is crystalline solids, and this is about the thin films. So let us start. But in your syllabus, you don't have G.P. Thomson. So they have only Davison German experiment for that one. Now let me take the experimental setup. All of you can observe here. Okay, this is the circuit where you can have okay, this is called electron gun. This is called electron gun, which is having a potential here. You can have a potential here. Then other side, you can have a battery, which is called high tension battery. This is called high tension battery. This is called low tension battery. And this is called rheostat. What is the use of rheostat? Anybody? What is the use of rheostat?
Adjusting the voltage.
Yeah, very good. You can alter the voltage, isn't it? So you can move this arrow up and down, isn't it? So when you move up and down, the voltage, see, it is connected to the some hole here. Okay. So what is the purpose of this rheostat is you can change the voltage. So what happens here is the electron gun, this is to produce a beam of electrons. This is an electron gun which is used to produce only electron beam. So what is the use of this voltage is it is used to accelerate the emitted electrons from the electron gun. That means if you have more voltage, more electrons move fastly other side of that one. So that is the use of this rheostat, isn't it? This rheostat is connected to the high battery, isn't it? And this only to produce the electrons from the electron gun. Basically, we use tungsten filament for the production of electron gun here. Okay. So what happens? The electron guns are emitted, and which are controlled by this rheostat, isn't it? Okay, more voltage we produce, more electrons you can produce out of that. That means you are accelerating, giving some kinetic energy, isn't it? Okay, now next, see how the electron beams are generated from the electron gun. You can see here, okay, by wearing this rheostat. Now other side you can have here is along with the electron gun. So you have a single crystal of nickel. Single crystal of nickel. This is called crystalline solids. So Davison and German have chosen such a material that is crystalline solid. Particularly, it is a single, not a composite. It's a pure nickel, isn't it? So where I'll tell you why they have used only the nickel, why other single crystal here, isn't it? And you have a detector. Okay, so this is a detector is named as a Bragg's spectrometer. You know Bragg's? What is the formula for the Bragg's? Bragg's law. What is the formula for Bragg's law? Bragg's condition. 2d sine theta is equal to
n lambda.
Yeah, that is a Bragg's spectrometer we call it as. Okay, so Bragg's has designed to measure the intensity. This Bragg spectrometer, what you call detector, is used to measure the intensity of this electron beam, isn't it? Okay, so you have a value here, 54 volts. So what is 54 volts is they have done experiments starting from 40 volts, 41, 42, 43, like that. They have increasing the voltage. At particular voltage they have gone to 80 volts, but at particular voltage at 54 volts they have got maximum intensity, isn't it? They got at 54 volts they got the maximum intensity. How they measure? By using this Bragg's spectrometer. So behind 54 degrees, they have seen again decreasing in the peak. That means intensity goes on decreasing. So they observed that at particular 54 volts, why there is a maximum intensity at particular 54 volts only. So there is a good explanation by using Bragg's condition, that is 2d sine theta is equal to n lambda. So why they got at particular 54 volts, it is a maximum intensity. Let us see that one. Okay. Now, the first started here. This is the first initial position they have started. So why to started here is that, so there is a meaning here. So the electron beam is strikes the surface of a nickel crystal, okay, and get reflected, isn't it? The reflected light, the reflected beam is collected by the Bragg spectrometer. So why have they chosen here starting from is initially the angle of incidence here theta, the angle of incidence is equal to the angle of reflection, the angle of reflection here theta. Firstly they have chosen, isn't it? The angle of incidence is equal to the angle of reflection. And then what they have done, they started moving this Bragg spectrometer. This Bragg spectrometer can be moved 180 degrees like this. They can move 180 degrees. So initially they have started at here, that is I is equal to R, angle of incidence is equal to angle of reflection, and they start moving slowly here like this along with the crystal. Crystal also move along with the Bragg crystal, and they have moved here. At 50 degrees centigrade, they have maximum intensity. That is increasing the voltage and increasing the angle of scattering angle also is increased. At particular 50 degrees centigrade, they have seen that the maximum intensity is produced at particular angle, that theta is equal to 50 degrees. Now let me show that one. Yeah, this is where they got maximum intensity, isn't it? Maximum intensity at 54 volts and at 50 degrees. So why this is happening? Okay, they use the concept of Bragg's condition. Now let me take this crystal. Okay, so in this crystal you have a family of planes. That means you have a number of planes, isn't it, on the surface, where you can see the lattice points in that one. Let me show that one. Now you can see here I have taken the crystal here in a separate form. So in this nickel crystal you can have the planes like this, planes diagonally, vertically, okay, horizontally, and what way you can have. So these dots are nothing but lattice points. Lattice points are nothing but the position of atoms or molecules inside the material. Okay, so firstly they have taken two planes, so that they have calculated the distance between the two planes, that is represented d is equal to 0.91 angstroms. Okay, the distance between any two planes they have calculated, that is d is equal to 0.91 angstroms. Right, now what they have done is, okay, here you can see the electrons are generated. Electrons are nothing but, according to de Broglie, they have acts as a wave nature. Okay, so what happens, the electron is associated with wave. You keep it in mind, the electron is associated with wave, isn't it? So what happens here is, here a wave nature, that means a beam of electrons falls on this one here. Let me show here. Now you can see here, okay, this is the first ray. These are, that means a beam of electrons, that is nothing but waves, strikes the surface of the nickel crystal on the first plane, get reflected back. Right, so what is this 50 degrees? You got maximum intensity, that means this one I'm considering this. Okay, this is the incident one and this is the reflected one. Okay, the angle between the incident and the reflected is 50 degrees here. And what happens, the second beam of get strikes on the second plane and reflected back with a path difference or with a phase difference of pi. See, this is the path difference. How you calculate path difference? You draw a normal here. Okay, see, this yellow color gives the path difference. That means as compared to the first ray, the second ray is travels with a path difference, isn't it? Or with a phase difference of pi, with a path difference of lambda by 2, isn't it? So what is happening here is, okay, so these two ray, the ray 1, ray 2, the ray 1, ray 2 superimpose constructively. Have you heard the constructive interference and destructive interference?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, constructive interference means you get more intensity, whereas destructive interference represents minimum intensity. That's why these two rays interfere constructively. That's why the intensity is maximum at 50 degrees centigrade. So you can write this is constructive difference. Sorry, constructive interference, right? So because of that constructive interference, you get the maximum intensity that is measured by the Bragg's spectrometer. Now let us calculate. Now let us prove the de Broglie wavelength what it says. So I will take here, okay. Now how to calculate what is the scattering? Let us find that one. See here. So taking the Bragg's condition, that is n lambda is equal to 2d sine theta. Okay. So here this is 50 degrees. So what is the total angle this one? Here to here?
180 degrees.
Yeah, 180. 180 minus 50?
130.
130. Okay. So total angle you have taken. So this side it will be the 65. Theta is equal to 65. That is from first ray to the plane. That is theta is equal to 65. And here also other side it is 65. Okay. So theta is nothing but what you got here according to Bragg's condition. This theta represents this one. You are finding the value of theta. Okay. You know the value of d. You know the value of lambda. You know the value of n. Then how to find the theta means this is the trigonometry we use here. Okay. So this is 50. So this becomes theta is equal to 65 degrees. Now let us substitute theta is equal to 65. D is equal to 0.91. Okay. And you convert into meters, where lambda you can find here. Okay. Now see here, according to Bragg's condition, lambda is equal to 2d sine 65. Okay. So why you're taking n is equal to 1? This is for order, first order we call it as, but because you're taking the first ray. Okay. The order of the is first one, n is equal to 1, isn't it? Now substitute all the values. What is d? 0.91 into 0.9063 angstroms. You got sine 65. Okay. So now what is the wavelength you got? Wavelength of the incident one. If we are finding this lambda, you are finding this wavelength. What you got? Approximately 1.65 angstroms. This is experimentally proved. Okay. By making use of de Broglie condition, you have find the wavelength, that is de Broglie wavelength, that is approximately 1.65 angstroms. This is okay. Now let us take de Broglie. Now you have taken the Bragg's condition. Okay, this is a Bragg's condition. Now you have to prove this is equal to de Broglie wavelength, isn't it? So in de Broglie wavelength, what is the formula for in terms of energy? De Broglie wavelength in terms of energy, what is the formula? Lambda is equal to h by under root
2me. 2me.
2me. Okay. By making that equation, let us prove that the wavelength what you got from the de Broglie is equal to here. Why? Because de Broglie say it is a wave particle duality. Okay. Now let us assume that here, let us assume that there is a beam of electrons, isn't it? There is a beam of electrons. So each electron have energy of equal to 54. You are getting my point? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, whatever the electrons are generating from the electron gun possess some energy, isn't it? That energy depends upon the voltage, isn't it? The voltage, what at what voltage they have more? 54 degrees, sorry, 54. So energy of each electron is 54 electron volts. Okay, 1 electron volt is equal to how many joules? One electron volt is equal to how many joules?
1.6 into 10 power minus 19.
Yeah, that becomes the charge of the electron, isn't it? So 1 electron volt is equal to 1.6 into 10 to the power of minus 19 joules. Okay, so let me take that one. See here, these are the electrons whose energy is 54. Okay, let me have that one. So I'm taking E is equal to 54 electron volts. Okay, so 1 electron volt is equal to, you can see the charge of that, you can convert into joules. So this is the energy of each electron. You can see that each electron is generating from the electron gun. So why you are equating 54 means the voltage will be depend on energy here. So according to de Broglie hypothesis, lambda is equal to h by p. Okay, this is for particle nature. Okay, so in terms of energy, how can you write? In terms of energy, okay, you got the energy of electron, isn't it? So how you got? Lambda is equal to 6.6 into 10 to the power of 34, that is the Planck's constant, under root 2 me. What is m?
Mass of
Mass of
electron.
electron.
Yeah, mass of electron. You substitute is under root 2 me. So you got 2 mass of the electron and energy of the electron. What is energy of electron? This value. Okay, now how much you got? Approximately 1.66 angstroms. So which is very near to experimentally, isn't it? Okay, so this is experimentally proved that de Broglie hypothesis is verified. De Broglie hypothesis is verified. So you can have here, see, momentum. This momentum is nothing but under root 2me. Simply we are taking this and you are finding the de Broglie wavelength, isn't it? So you got theoretical value and you got experimental value, which are very near. We can have comparable values for this one. So we can say that Davison-German experiment is the verification of de Broglie hypothesis. It's okay, everybody?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. This they have proved that very interesting, that de Broglie hypothesis. So that's why. So you can have these equations are very important, isn't it? Why you are taking most insist on this formula is that one. So for any verification of that one, you can have the values of here. Okay, right? Okay, any questions, my dear students? Any questions? No questions? Yeah. Class here, Kirti.
Sir,
I will send you the PDF notes of what you have discussed. So please WhatsApp your email ID. I'll send you in WhatsApp to you. You can circulate among your friends. It's okay?
okay, sir.
Okay. ఈరోజు మీకు పంపిస్తాను. So please do that one.
Okay, sir.